how to keep your dog from running out the front door when people come over. I've been there. A simple knock at the door or ring of my doorbell sends my two mastiffs into a frenzy of excitement and anticipation, wondering who's on the other side of the door. Unfortunately, the byproduct of the chaos triggered by the sound at the door is the dogs blocking the doorway, and when the door can be opened, greeting the person on the other side with a flurry of dog hair and slobber. Not the most enjoyable welcome. Using my simple 5-step method within my 3-part framework, you can teach your dog to go to a designated place as soon as they hear the door knock or doorbell, and only greet your visitor when you say it's okay. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Stephanie, aka Big Dog Mom, and on this channel, I provide information and resources that help you and your big dog live your best life together. Let's dive into this short training so you can once and for all get some control around your front door. As I mentioned, there are 3 phases to my front door manners methodology. I call them the 3 R's: rewards, response, release. The 3 R's are the framework around the 5 steps to training your dog. These are the strategic components you will want to keep in mind as you move through the 5 steps with your dog. We will discuss these more throughout the video and at the end, so you should stay until the end for that. Okay, step number 1. Decide where you want your dog to go when they hear the doorbell or hear a knock at the front door. Perhaps you have a dog bed close by that you'd like your dog to lay on, or maybe you prefer your dog go into an adjacent room, or perhaps you want your dog to go into a dog crate that you will secure when guests come over. Whether it's a dog bed, a crate, or a separate room, it really doesn't matter. You want the place to be somewhere where your dog is comfortable in and conditioned to. I've decided I want Junior and Sully to go lay on the large Big Barker dog bed in my living room when they hear a knock or ring of the doorbell. Okay, once you've decided on your place, now we need to teach your dog to go there on command. Here's where the fun starts. Over a series of sessions, you are going to train your dog to go to this place and to stay there. Before you start giving a command, I want you to simply reward your dog for getting on the bed or going to the place. Every time they do, give them a treat. I recommend super yummy treats for this, not a piece of kibble. Find a treat that is small and soft and able to be consumed largely without a lot of chewing. I like to use some leftover steak pieces or chicken, tiny bites of string cheese, dehydrated or freeze-dried liver. I will link a few of my favorite options in the description box below. Feel free to use a clicker if your dog is conditioned to one and would like to speed up this process. Okay. Simply click and treat when your dog gets on the bed. After a few iterations of this, you can pair the action of getting on the bed with your command. I usually say go to your bed to my dogs. However, you can use the word place or crate or mat, whatever makes the most sense for you. You may want to point to the bed or place as well. Honestly, neither the command nor the pointing will matter in the end, as they will be phased out when we start to condition your dog to the sound of the door. But for now, it doesn't hurt to make a fun game out of getting on the bed or going to the place. If you have more than one dog, I do recommend you work through this step separately at first before you bring your dogs together. This ensures they both understand the game and aren't just following one another. Once your dog has figured out that going to his bed or going to this place on command brings amazing rewards, I want you to increase the length of time they are on there with the expectation that they stay there until they are released. You can use the command stay if your dog knows it, or simply start to use a release command like okay or free. Ideally, you can get a good 30 seconds to 1 minute in the place before you release your dog. Before we move on, remember I mentioned the 3 phases: reward, response, and release? The first is reward. Key to getting your dog to reliably go to their place when they hear the trigger sound is making that place beyond awesome for your dog to be in. One of the easiest ways to communicate awesome to a dog is through the use of treat rewards. So reward is the first critical phase in the process of training your dog not to run out the door when you have visitors. Let's move on now to step number 3. Because we want to avoid any and all chaos at our door when people come over, we need to train our dog to hear the trigger sound, a knock or a doorbell, and immediately go to his place. I know that sounds complicated, but trust me, it's a very simple process to understand. It's called conditioning, or more specifically, classical conditioning, and it's actually how your dog learned to bombard the front door and maul your guests in the first place. Conditioning involves two parts, a stimulus and a response. The stimulus in this situation is the sound of a knock or ring of the doorbell. The response is what happens immediately after. Your dog has learned that as soon as the door opens, he's greeted with a friendly visitor or freedom. That is the response. What we want to do is change the response to the stimulus. This is the second phase of our three-phase framework, response. In this step, you will reinforce the response of going to the bed or place at the sound of the doorbell or knock by immediately giving a treat after the trigger sound. I do this by making a knocking sound first on the wall and then asking my dog to go to your bed. When he's on the bed or even making his way towards it, I immediately provide a treat. Do this several times. Make a knocking sound, point or ask your dog to go to their place, and then give a treat. You do not need to say, good boy. Conditioning isn't a reward-based training method, it's a response-based one. When your dog hears the sound, they go to the place. That action is the response and is reinforced through treats. Once your dog is responding by going to his place or bed at the sound of the knock, move up to knocking on the door from the inside. This mimics the more familiar sound of the knock occurring on the outside, so it's a stronger stimulus for your dog. Repeat what you did before. As soon as your dog hears the knock and then gets on their bed, present the treat. And again, working on increasing the amount of time on the bed with a stay or a slow delay of giving your release word. You will want to continue this process moving up to the sound of the knock and eventually the doorbell from the outside and repeating the process of treating when the response is going to the place. 2 quick tips before we move on to step number 4. First, have treats near your door or on you at all times to practice this or just in case you have a real visitor at some point during your training. You want to be sure to consistently reinforce the response of going to the place every time your dog hears the trigger sound. And second, if you have someone that can help you, even better. My kids help me with the knocking so that I can be quicker with my treats as the distance increases between the door and my dog's bed. The faster you are able to deliver the treats, the better. So having another set of hands to help goes a long way. Plus, you will need this other person for step number 4. So let's move on to that. If you are getting value from this video, hit that like button and let me know. As always, there is a full blog post of this training on bigdogmom.com linked in the description box below, so be sure to check that out. Okay, step number 4. Now that your dog is starting to pair the sound of the doorbell and knock with his response of going to his or her place, you want to increase the intensity of the stimulus to more closely mimic when you actually have a friendly stranger or visitor on the other side of the door. The easiest way to do this is to enlist the help of your kids, a spouse, a friend, and even a neighbor. I start with my children and recommend working up to staging visits with my neighbor. Tell your guest actor to knock on the door and wait. Give your dog a treat in response for going to their place. Repeat this process several times with just the knock. I recommend having the person on the other side vary how they knock. So the first time, just do a knock, knock. The second, knock, knock, knock. The third, knock several times, a little faster. And the fourth, do it in a varied pattern. The point is that it sounds a little different each time, and each time a sound comes from the door, your dog goes to his place and receives a delicious treat. Work up to having your guest actor ring the doorbell. This will be the most intense stimulus for your dog, as doorbells often don't ring near the front door, they ring somewhere in the middle of the house. This can be quite upsetting to dogs who hear the sound and initially can't quite place what's causing it. Once they figure out that it means that there's life on the other side of the front door, all bets are off. Hello, chaos. At this stage, you are simply having someone else on the other side of the door cause the sound and wait. When your dog responds by going to his place, you are reinforcing that response with a treat every single time. Remember to increase the amount of time your dog remains in his place before giving them a release command like okay or free. Because in the next step, we are going to be opening the door. And with that, let's move on to our last and final step, step number 5. Assuming your dog is ready, you can now repeat step 4 and add in opening the door. You want to be careful at this step to work incrementally and not go too fast. If you don't, the first time you open the door, all bets are off. Your dog may decide opening is his invitation to run out the door. You definitely don't want that. To prevent this from happening, you want to work in baby steps. Let me illustrate the progression with Junior and Sully. In the beginning, after my guest actor knocks on the door, I start by just jiggling the handle, but I don't open the door. Next, following a knock, I introduce opening the door, but only about an inch, all while reinforcing with treats when the response is getting on the bed. After several successful iterations of this, I move up to opening the door wider and then fully so the dogs can see but not greet the person on the other side. At this stage, I am simply opening the door, but not releasing my dogs until the door is shut again. You want to continue this in incremental steps until you have full control over your front door and your dogs are reliably responding to the trigger sound, a knock or the doorbell, by heading to their designated place. When you are ready, you can allow the guest actor to step into your home. Again, do this incrementally to avoid chaos at the door. Following a knock at the door and you opening it, start with a fake conversation at the door with your guest actor, but don't let them in. Change up your voice. Pretend it's an Amazon person or a neighbor. Laugh, take a package and say thank you. Then shut the door and release your dogs. The next time, invite the person to step into the house one step and repeat what you just did. Make these visits super short at first and work on duration over several sessions.
Delivery for stuff.
Oh, hi. Oh, thank you so much. Here, you can come on in. You can come on in.
I didn't bring my clipboard today, so you better just
okay. Oh, thank you so much. Here, if you'd like to just go ahead and take it out now. Thank you so much. Okay, nice doing business with you. Bye-bye. Free. Good boy. Good job. Good job. And finally, invite the guest actor in and close the door. When you are ready, you can release your dogs to say hello. Hi. Oh, it's nice to see you. Oh, you brought a canine friend with you. Oh, good. Oh, good. Stay. June, stay. Okay. Would you like to come into my house, sir?
I would love to.
Okay. Oh, okay. I guess we're going to invite a canine friend in too. Okay. Hi, June. Hi, June. Okay, so come over here. And now we're going to release Sully. Here, you want a treat? Okay, so good job. Good job. Okay. Which brings me to the third and final phase of my 3-phase framework for training front door manners. Let's review quickly what we've covered so far. First, we talked about using a reward to make your dog's place the most wonderful place in the world, a place they want to go and stay in. We did this in 2 steps. First, determining where we wanted our dogs to go when someone comes to the door, and then we used a point or the command, go to your place, to set up a series of opportunities to reward the behavior of going to the place. Remember that at this stage, we also incorporated a short stay as well. Then we discussed response, pairing the sound of the doorbell or knock with the action of going to the place and reinforcing that with a treat. We did this in 2 steps as well. We started with a fake knock on a wall and worked up to a knock on the door and then the doorbell. Our goal was to pair the trigger sound with the response of going to the place. And then after many sessions of this, we introduced a guest actor to knock and ring the doorbell from the outside. Now we are in the final phase, release. In step 5, you learned how to put all of this together incrementally while adding in the action of opening the door and greeting your guest. You learned that your dog should be staying in his place until you give your release word that you began to use in step 4. I recommend something short and choppy like okay or free. This is the signal to your dog that they are free to leave their place and do what they want, usually greeting your visitor. Keep in mind that with this training methodology, your dog has had the freedom to choose the entire time. We haven't forced our dog to do anything. This is the absolute magic of conditioning and positive training. No force or fear is ever required to get the behavior we want out of our dogs. And with that, Congratulations! You have learned how to keep your dog from running out the front door and taught your dog front door manners like a pro. If you would like to learn more fabulous tips and strategies for training large and giant breed dogs, check out my playlist here. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in our next video. Bye for now. Okay, on your bed. On your bed. On your bed. Okay, Junie couldn't get on there. Okay, you're too big. All right, so come on. Here, so I'm gonna walk around. Let's see. Junie, on your bed. On your bed. On your bed. Good puppy. Good boy. Good job. Here. Junie, that's gross. Well, it's just water.
Okay, June.
Okay, hang on. All right, so now we're gonna do step 3. Okay.